Alright, so in this episode, we're going to do an axle swap on the passenger side of this 2014 Ford Explorer. Alright, so the reason we're going to change this passenger side axle on this Explorer is because it's got 175,000 miles on it. If you turn to the left out of a stop sign or a stoplight, or if you're going on the interstate under heavy load up a hill or something, there's a vibration in the right front that we have most likely deduced to being this axle, and so we're going to change it. So in order to change the axle, what we're going to do is we're going to jack the car up, we're going to move the wheel, we're going to remove the center axle nut from the axle that holds it to the hub, remove the two bolts that hold the spindle to the strut, remove the tie rod end nut, and then the anti-sway bar nut, drop the whole spindle down, remove the two bolts that hold the axle into the transmission, pull the axle out, and then reverse. Alright, now that we have the wheel off, you can kind of see better what we're going to have to do. We have to remove this axle nut. There are two bolts here and here that hold the stud to the spindle. I may not have to take this off, but this is the anti-sway bar bolt. And then there's a tie rod bolt back here that holds the tie rod onto the spindle. Remove those, then the whole spindle can come down. We can push the axle out. There's two bolts back in there that hold the axle to the transmission. And if everything goes well, the axle will come out, we can put the new one in, we'll be done. So this axle nut is a 32 millimeter bolt. I'm going to use, or 32 millimeter nut. I'm going to try to use my air impact wrench to see if it works.
5 minutes later.
Nope. I'd say I might be able to get it eventually, but I think it's going to be
a lot of cranking.
Okay. Nut is clear. I have to take the two bolts, the two nuts out of back there.
Yeah.
And then once I pop the axle out, it's going to leak fluid everywhere.
Yes.
And we have to catch the fluid so that we can figure out how much
is out that we have to put back
leaks so that we can put it back in.
Hey, we've got a problem.
Like, that's it.
Please. Houston, we have a problem.
Because this doesn't fit. It's there. Is not the same.
It's the same axle, but it's different. All right, so today is day 2 of this axle swap because we didn't have the correct bracket for this axle. So as you can see, this is the new axle and this is the old axle. If you look here on this intermediate shaft bearing, this flange is on the transmission side, whereas this flange is on the wheel side. And so the stock bracket that bolts to the side of the engine has an offset in it, which puts the mounting plate for this further inboard, whereas I needed this one, which is completely flush and doesn't give an offset for the new style axle. So I didn't have this part, we went and got it, and now it's pretty easy to put it back together.
You look defeated.
I have no idea what these were even
For your car.
for. Well, they were, I'm pretty sure these came off my Mustang, but I have no idea what they came off of and why. So, okay, fine. So I'm about to install this in the car. You need this new bolt from Ford, and it goes through this whole thing and holds it together. I reused the top bolt, and then I was unable to get these studs out of the old bracket, and so I found these set of metric bolts in our bolt cabinet, and they're the right thread size and they fit and everything works, so I'm going to use these instead. Alright, 2 bolts. Tie rod, we're done. Now that I have the axle bolted in on the inside bracket, the bracket tight and the bolt holding the flange on tight, I'm now going to move out, make sure I don't miss anything. I'm torquing the upper and lower strut bolt to 130 pound-feet, and then I'm going to torque the tie rod end, and I'll torque the axle nut, and we'll be done. So when I pulled the axle out, the fluid in the transmission spilled out, which is going to do when you pull the axle out. So I tried to capture as much as I could into this bucket, and now in order to make sure I have the right amount of transmission fluid in the engine, I'm going to put it in this Mobil 1 oil jug, and then we'll see based on the back how much fluid is in it, and then we'll try to put that much fluid back in. So we're going to be using Mercon LV. It's what's called for in the owner's manual. And based on our high-tech measuring device, we're going to put in just under 2 quarts of transmission fluid. Agreed. Just because you said agree, I'll do that.
Wow.
It says check hot. I checked, I'm already hot. All right, axle's been replaced, wheel is on, torque down. We're gonna take it for a test drive. Axle swap done.